Example 3, in 1 year's time, 20% of Miss McElroy's investments increased by 5%, 38% of her investments decreased by 5%, and 50% of her investments increased by 30%. By what percent did the total of her investments increase? All right, so we're talking about her investments, and let's give a variable to her investments before anything changes. So I'm going to use N again, is the dollar amount of investments before any change. All right, so let's look at this first part. Maybe we'll do these in different colors. So 20% of Miss McElroy's investments increased by 5%. So I'm going to try to write that out. So 20% of her investments increased by 5%. So again, increased would mean that it goes up and starts at 100. So it would be 105% of, nope, I forgot my N here, of her investments. So 20% of her investments increased to 105%. Let me grab a different color for this next part. So we're going to add to that. So on this one, 30% of her investments, 30% of her investments decreased by 5%. So that would mean that it went down. So that would be, change it to 95%. Let's get another color here for our last section. Add to it 50% of her investments. See, we can squeeze it in. 50% of her investments increased by 100 or by 3%, so 103%. All right, so now we need to take all of these and simplify them down and turn them into decimals and some equations. It'll be a little easier to work with. So 20% would be 0.2. Of means to multiply times n. 105% would be 1.05 plus 0.3 times n times 0.95 and then plus 0.5 of n would be 1.03. All right, so now we need to simplify. So 0.2 times 1.05 is 0.21 n plus, when we multiply 0.3 times 0.95, we get 0.285 n. And then when we multiply these two together, we get 0.515 n. So now, since these are all like terms, we can simplify them all together. And when we do that, we get that it is 1.01 n. Or this would be the same thing as 101% times n. So again, we take out the beginning, take out beginning 100% or our beginning whole. So 101 minus 100 is left with 1. So she had a total of 1% increase for all of her investments.